Everybody, it's Big Al with some more content for Lord of the Rings Rise to War. This one is going to be a very simple basics on what kind of commanders each of the commanders are, how to tell what they are, and then what kind of gear each commander needs. Okay? So, let's start. One good thing about most of the commanders is they can use you can use the same set of equipment for multiple commanders. Okay, so I'm going to start with Frodo. Okay, Frodo is a tank. So you want him to absorb hits. So when you go click on a commander, go into their skills. Okay, and look what their skills are. So we're going to start at the top. Like this one reduces the damage received. Okay. This one gives faster marches. Okay, that doesn't seem that important unless you're impatient. Hobbit Adventurer. Attack of X kind of units in X amount of formations deals extra attack. Okay. And then his other one. Oh, it's another one to reduce damage received because he's evading attacks. So he's got two skills that tell you that he is trying to take the hits and take less damage. Okay, so therefore he's a tank. So I'm also going to show you two other examples really quick. Boromir. Okay, let's see. This skill, Warden. It has a chance to evade damage in 3 formations. Air. Oh, you're adding defense to him, and it's modified by command stat. Okay, and it stacks up. So that means he's going to be taking hits. And then he has a damage skill, and he has a skill that adds attack to other formations. So he's a support. He's supporting the other formations between these two, Warden and Horn. Okay, so he's a support, but he also has a defensive skill, so he could absorb hits as well. And now we're going to go to Falcon. It's another example of a tank. Okay, first we're going to go to this skill, which is damage taken by dwarf units in 3 allied formations. Okay, so he's helping other formations or other dwarf units in your army take less damage. Okay, that's a support. Deals physical damage. Okay, that's a physical damage. Okay, he heals himself. So that's going to help him take hits. And then for each dwarf formation composed of dwarf units in your army, the defense of the commander's formation is plus 10. Okay, so that means he's taking less hits. So out of his skills, I have 2 skills that help him absorb hits, take less damage. Well, take less damage and then heal damage. Okay, and then he is supporting other troops. So that makes him a support slash tank. Now let's go to Gimli. Okay, and Gimli is an example of a physical damage dealer. So I'm going to look at his skills and oh, there's one physical damage skill. There's a second, and there's a third physical damage skill. So he is a damage dealer, a DD. Now let's go to somebody a little more complicated because Dane is the same way. He has 3 physical damage skills. So let me go to Aragon, for example. So he's got 1 skill that deals physical damage. He's got 2 skills that deal physical damage. Then this one is the attack of units in 3 allied formations. And then this one helps increases the defense of 3 allied formations. Okay, but 2 of his skills match up. So that makes him a damage dealer. And then he's got 2 other skills, which you're going to be maxing out these 2, the physical damage, and then the third one is just a support skill. But ultimately, he is a damage dealer. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Frodo, and I'm going to explain things with purple gear because that's going to be the easiest for newcomers to get. I'm not really going to go into blue gear because honestly, blue gear is horrible. But if you have to use it, you have to use it. But you'll be able to tell what you need. Okay. First off, let me do this. So when you're doing gear, ultimately the stats are what is the most important. Okay. So if you look at the top, it says Cutlass, 130 command. Okay, command is the ability of the weapon, or that is the refinement skill of the weapon. Okay, down here you have commander defense and unit defense. That is the stats. Okay, the stats of the equipment. And then here where it says stick armor, that is the set effect. Okay, so because remember, we looked at Frodo's skills and he had 2 skills to make him take less damage. So therefore he's a tank. So with the tank, what you want is you are looking for unit defense and you're looking at command. Okay, command can come on a weapon, on a helmet, and an accessory. Okay, the only ability that comes on armor is hit points. But again, I'm trying to reduce Frodo's damage from his units. So I want command and unit defense. So people are going to ask, what is command? You see on the right side here are the stats. If you click on command, it will give you a description of what command actually does. Okay, and same thing with any of these other ones. And attack is an ability to inflict physical damage. Okay, so with Frodo and Sam, Falcon, Boromir, they all have the damage reduction, damage mitigation skills. So again, you're going to want them to take hits. The other thing is some things will modify. You see here on a skill, like this one modifies for command stat, okay? And that is the ability up here under where it says Cutlass. So with tanks, you're going to want unit defense and command on everything that you can. And remember, armor's only ever going to have hit points. So by adding the unit defense and the command, okay, the unit defense automatically helps the unit so that he's taking less damage. And then here's, remember the command, the description, is damage received, damage dealt, and the healing granted. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Aragon. Now, he was a damage dealer. So we looked at his skill and he had 2 damage skills. Okay, so if they have 2 physical damage or 3 physical damage skills, that means they're a damage dealer. And with that, same thing. You want commander attack because you want your commander to do the most damage. And then on your weapon and accessory, when possible, the ability of the item, you want commander damage. And that's for damage dealers. Okay, so you want commander damage. That is the most important stat. And then the second is commander attack, because you want your commander to have the ability to inflict as much physical damage as possible. Now, on the helmet, it's not as important, but if you can, you want command. But that's second. Okay, the most important stat on the helmet is the commander attack. Same thing with the armor, is the commander attack. On the weapon for a damage dealer, the gold items give commander damage. Okay, there is no purple item that gives commander damage. So, with that being said, you want commander attack. Again, that's what's important. Commander damage and commander attack. But if you don't have the gold item, you have to go with the purple. And it doesn't have commander damage. So I want commander attack. So there's a couple examples. The Bone Talisman gives the most commander attack. Okay. Now, here's a different one. Now, Galadriel. Okay, let's take a look at her skills. She has focus damage. Okay, well, one of her skills says normal attacks now deal focus damage. And then her other damage skill is focus damage. And then she has 2 support skills for healing. One's to help 2 allied formation units, and one's to help yourself. Okay, but as a low level, these 2 damage skills open up at as soon as you unlock her. Okay, so she's a focused damage dealer. So what we're doing is we still want the commander damage, but the second stat we want is commander focus instead of commander attack. So she's a focused damage dealer. She wants commander focus and commander damage. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. And then it's the same thing. If you can get command on your helmet with the most important stat, which is commander focus, great. If not, you'd be looking at something like with the bone mask that has the commander focus and commander hit points. Same thing with armor. You want commander focus. And then last, same thing as with the regular physical damage dealers. You want if you have the gold item that gives commander damage and, for this case, commander focus, because she's a focus damage dealer, that's what you want to use. If not, you want to use something that gives you a lot of focus, because the more focus you have, the more focused damage you're going to do to somebody. Okay. Let's take a look at another support. Let's take a look at Aowen. Okay. We'll check out her skills. So this one adds defense to 3 medium units, but if it's level 10, it doesn't matter what kind of unit it is. Okay, so that's a support skill. She also has this skill: restores 65% hit points to mounted units in 3 allied formations. Okay, so that's going to support your other troops. And then she has these 2 damage skills. Okay, so she can be used as either a support or she can be used as a physical damage dealer. Okay, but there are better options for your physical damage dealers like Dane and Gimli and Aragon, so that's why I showed them. So I use her as a support, and that is big to decide what kind of commander it is and what is her best use. What is that commander's best use for you with the commanders that you're using? So I use her for the support. Okay, and this one modifies off a command stat, and what that means is if you click on it, it tells you how much extra defense you will get per every 100 command you have. Okay, then this one modifies by focus. Okay, that is okay, but you also, there's a boundary of how much you want to gear or steer your gear towards. Okay, so with her, I'm going to want her to give as much defense as possible, and she's going to be a support. So I'm pretty much doing the same thing that I did with Frodo and Falcon and Boromir. Is I'm loading her up with unit defense and command. Okay, but because she has that extra healing that modifies off focus, there's a couple different options for items that you can use. So this one, I have command up here at the top. The Uruk crossbow gives command, it gives commander focus, and it gives unit defense. And then I did the same thing with the Hobbit fiddle on purple. Command, focus, and unit defense. And then the helmet and the armor are the same. Unit defense are the most important. And then that also gave command stat. So I've talked about physical damage dealers, I've talked about focus damage dealers, I've talked about tanks, and I've talked about supports. And again, all the gear is interchangeable. So like I said, Gimli's using, some of the best in slot for damage dealers. Well, guess what? I could switch that gear to Dane or Aragon or to Dwalin or to Eowyn if I was using her as a damage dealer. So think about it that way. You can always share gear. Just make sure it's the same type of commander. So read over their skills, decide what kind of commander they are, and then do the gear to fit that and how you're going to use that. I know this was a little bit longer and I repeated a lot of things, but this is one of the important things of setting up your army, especially for newcomers. So I hope it helped. feel free to message me anytime in game. Big Al. So, as always, make the most out of what you got.